So good morning all of you. Today what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give you an introductory section on how to attend interviews, how to attend technical interviews, especially when it comes to questions based on object-oriented programming language. Okay, so in this class, I'll be having only a very short time with you. In this short time, what I'll be doing is that I'll be giving you a basic overview of what is object-oriented programming, what are the advantages of working with object-oriented programming language. Okay, so now instead of taking all these theories, what I will be doing is that I'll be giving you a question. I'll ask you to answer. If you are unable to answer, I'll give you the answers. Even if you are able to answer, I'll give you more explanation about the answers. This is how this lecture is going to go ahead. Okay. So first thing, it's all question answer sessions. So everybody is welcome to give answers. The first question is, what do you understand by OOPS, or what is object-oriented programming structure? Can any one of you sitting here give me an answer for what do you understand by object-oriented programming language or object-oriented programming structure? Any one of you, can you give me an answer to this question? So now, the interviewer is asking you, what is meant by OOPS? What will you give the answer? Or what is your understanding about what is OOPS? What do you think is OOPS? What will be your answer? It's a very common question in interviews. What is meant by OOPS? They begin with this. So I'll give you the answer, you can make a note of it, and as we go on, whenever you present for interviews, you should be capable of presenting the answers in the most appropriate manner. Object oriented means programs are oriented towards the objects. So in your program will contain a collection of objects, and we will be doing all the processing with respect to these objects. What are objects? What are classes? How to create objects? How to create classes? We'll see in the coming slides. What are the advantages of using object-oriented programming language? We'll study now. Okay. So object-oriented programming, or OOPS, which is commonly known, it's short from object-oriented programming, OOPS. OOPS is a paradigm based on objects. Okay, it means that you are concentrating on creation of objects, you are manipulating based on the objects, your processing happens all based on objects and not on the structure. The other thing, okay, the counterpart of object-oriented programming, like say for example C programming, is known as procedural programming or structurized programming, where the focus or the orientation or the emphasis is on the structure of the program and not on the objects. Clear? Structure means what comes first, then what comes second, and so on. Right? So that is called as structure. Procedural means also based on the procedures, based on the function call and so on. But here our main focus is on objects. So what are the advantages? It helps in code reusability. That means once you create a class, you can create infinite number of instances. So it is reusable, it is scalable, it is easily maintained. Because I'll give you examples on how all these things are working, how easily you can change your code to suit your necessities. You can keep changing your with a few lines of code, you can change your entire program very easily whenever there is a requirement of changes. Okay, so that is called as maintainability. Reusability means that one code can be used for so many applications or so many instances. Clear? Okay. Then some examples are Python, Java, C, C++, not C, Python, Java, C++, and C Sharp, and so on. Example for procedural programming is C. Okay, most common one, C. Oops, it is C++, Python, Java, etc. Because of the advantages of, I'll show you examples in Python. Now what we'll be doing is that we'll be learning object-oriented structures using Python. What are the advantages of using OOPS and what is that makes Python flexible? Okay. So I believe that the first question, what is meant by object-oriented programming, is easily answerable by all of the students here, right? Now can you tell me what is meant by object-oriented programming? Collection of objects. Very good. So a program in object-oriented programming language is a collection of objects, right? Okay. Scalability means we can use it to a very small level and then we can expand it, we can inherit it, we can use one methods over the others and we can make it as a large program, right? That is what is meant by scalability. So, what are the advantages of using object-oriented programming languages? Scalability, reusability, and can be easily maintained. Very good. So, one interview question, the first question, what is meant by object-oriented programming or what do you understand by object-oriented programming? You got the answers, right? All of you? So in general, I told you what is object-oriented programming. Now, what are the concepts that are involved? What are the key concepts that are involved in object-oriented programming? What makes a programming language object-oriented? Okay, what are the important features of object-oriented programming languages? Can any one of you tell me what it means? Inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, right? So these are called as the key concepts of object-oriented programming. These are also known as the four pillars of object-oriented structures, right? First one, encapsulation. So what is encapsulation or what do you understand by encapsulation? Binding of classes or binding of data, in fact. Binding of data or methods within classes. We have a class. The structure looks very interesting. We have a class, we initiate a class. We have variables, we have methods, we have attributes. You can call it as attribute. So you are invoking a method inside a class so that it works like this. Okay, it works in a format. Okay, so what are the advantages you get when you are encapsulating a data? Protects from, very good, protect from unauthorized data, right? You have a structure, you can use only whatever you want. I'll show you that with examples. Okay. Second point is inheritance. What do you understand by inheritance? Yes, parent, child, very good. A class can extend another class. In Java, you use extends. In Python, you can simply inherit a class from another class. Okay. So all these things I'll give you with example as we go on. Second, the third point is all about polymorphism. What is meant by polymorphism? So the word polymorphism, in general, what it means is that it can take different shapes. What is meant by morphing? What is meant by morphing? See, I believe that encapsulation and inheritance, all of you understood, right? Is there anybody in this class who does not know what is meant by encapsulation and what is meant by inheritance? If you cannot understand or you want me to explain, just raise your hands, I'll explain again. So I believe that all of you are confident. If you are asked a question about encapsulation, the basics you can answer. Am I right? Yes, good. Inheritance also you can answer. Coming to polymorphism, I'll give you some clue or some hints on how to write or how to answer a question when you're faced with a question on polymorphism. You can easily understand the word morphing, All of you know what is morphing, right? Yes, changing the shape. So polymorphism allows you to change the shape. It makes it very flexible, right? So this is the main advantage. That means that a same function or same method can behave in different fashion at different points of time or different locations wherever it is being initialized or created or used. So polymorphism allows an object to change its shape as and when it is required. Okay. The last point, abstraction. What is meant by abstract? Sometimes you don't need to use the entire things, you need to hide certain things. Whichever is required for the object, only that things you need to. So we have a feature wherein we can use certain features, we can hide certain features. Hide while implementation. Abstract means things that what we want is only being used. The others are not used. We have a lot of advantages when we use this kind of features like abstraction because we save a lot of space, time, coding, and so on. Instead of writing the same program n number of times, abstraction helps us to reduce our readability. The code will be more flexible. That's it. Can be used very easily. Is that okay for all of you? So what are the four pillars of object-oriented programming language? Encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. Okay, you may usually be asked all these questions. The reason why the interviewer asks you these kind of very simple questions is because if you don't know this, they don't need to work too much on you. Understood? Okay. So if you say you don't know this, they don't need to work too much on you. They'll easily send you off. So there will be very simple questions, there will be difficult questions in interviews. So once you answer these questions, what are the key concepts in object-oriented programming structures? Once you answer this question, you say encapsulation. The next question, what the interviewer will be prompted to ask is, can you give an example of encapsulation? Or can you give an example in the project what you have done where you had to use encapsulation? Okay, so whenever you prepare your resume and whenever you start studying, preparing for the interview, make sure that you are well versed with the projects what you have already done, the academic project especially on what area you have done and how you have used all these kinds of concepts. This project is extremely important because the project makes the interviewer understand you have an experience in doing using experience directly in programming structures. So you can go through on all these basic concepts on encapsulation, abstraction, where are the places where you can use. In case you have no idea about that, make yourself prepared with generic examples. Generic means very common examples which can be easily understood by the interviewer. Don't speak the language that the interviewer does not understand. Don't think that you will be selected if you speak very complicated language or big things. You will not be selected in case you speak some things that the interviewer does not understand. Okay? So always in interviews, make sure that you speak simple language and make the interviewer understand that you have understood everything. That is the purpose of interviews. So please don't complicate or talk too much on some things. There is a feeling whenever I've been into interview board in so many companies. That's the reason why I wanted to tell you all these things. There is a general feeling among many students that if we talk complicated things or if we talk too much, the chances of getting selected is higher. No, it is not like that. The chances of selecting is higher only if the interviewer understands what you have understood. Okay, so keep this point in mind. Be very simple, legible, clear, and give only answers to the point. Give it in brief. Okay, don't try to expand things, complicate things. Encapsulation example. The example should clearly explain how you can encapsulate data and use it for the purpose where it is meant for. Is that okay? So next question. Very common question, what is meant by a class? Can you give me answers? What do you think is a class? Class is a collection of methods and attributes. Okay. Blueprint, yes. Blueprint of what? Blueprint of objects. Okay. Anything else? We can take multiple objects with the use of class guard. But the question is, what is really a class? What is a class? Class contains all the methods and attributes. That's good, fine. Any other better answers that your interviewer will get impressed by your answer? Any other better answer? So this is a standard definition. A class is nothing but a blueprint or a template for objects. In order to make you understand what is a class, what is object-oriented programming, I will take a very simple example here. Okay. First one, I'll create a class called as animal. Okay. So what are animals? What are animals? What are animals? I'm not asking you in the technical point of view. In general, how do you explain an animal? Animals are living beings, right? Then animals take food, they grow, right? So, right, I will. So, a class defines the attributes and methods, or variables and methods are that the objects created will have, right? So, here, now let me create a class called as animal. This animal, what it has features like it grows, right? Grows, takes food, huh? Has legs. Has legs. Do all animals have legs? Do all animals have legs? Some of you say no, some of you say yes. That means that some animals exist which do not have legs. Okay. I'll give you an example you can take. For example, I'm not very particular, but okay. You can take an example of a snake. Can you say that for sure that all snakes do have legs? They have something with which they crawl, right? That can be called as legs, it's fine. You have bacteria, you have so many other things. I do not think that all species of animals do have legs. But still, you can include in your technical aspect here an animal has legs. Okay? It can be there, it cannot be there. So, here we are defining animal to be having a general characteristics, a list of characteristics. So, like animal, I'll give you parallelly another one example also, wherein we can use these examples as our instances. Like animal, now I am going to create another class, a class called as person. Okay, right? As you said, a person will have all the characteristics of human beings, right? Yes or no? It has, a person will be having two eyes, will be having a leg, will be having two legs, will be having two legs, will be, so many features are there. What a general human being has. Okay. So we'll take these two examples here and we'll expand this to a very beautiful way. The first one is animal. Animal. The next one is a person. Person. Okay. Now, from animal class, you can create so many animals. It can inherit, say for example, dog, cat, elephant, snake. Yes, snake is an animal, right? Although it is a reptile. Crocodiles are animals. See, all these things are, you have another one way of doing it. Mammals, reptiles, birds, so on. So many ways you can further classify it. You have dogs, cats, fields here, like this, right? Similarly, for a person is a main class. Person can have classes like student, teacher, okay, employee, employer, right? All these people are persons. Yes. So this is a class. Animal is a class. Dog is a class that can use the features of animals, right? And cats, elephants can use the features of animals. Similarly, there is a class persons. Students can be people, teachers can be people, non-teaching staff here, faculties, non, other office staff. They can also fall under the condition of persons. Okay. Another one example I'll give you. Car can be a class. Every car will have four wheels, right? Every car will have certain common features, right? A car can be a class. From that class, you can have Maruti as another class. These are all only classes. I am not talking about instances or objects. Please keep these points in mind. I am trying to explain to you what is a class. The best way of understanding or using a class is that a class is a user defined data type. A class is a user defined data type. That means that you are defining the features of what type of data this class can hold. You define, for example, string. String can hold only characters. You define a class or you define a data type called as integer. Integers can hold only whole numbers. Okay. We have double, we have float. We don't have double in Python, but we have float in Python, which is used to hold decimal numbers only. Similarly, you are defining a data type, and that data type is called as a class. A class is a user defined data type that has some general characteristics. All of you understood what is meant by a class? If at all you get a question in the interview, will you be able to answer what is a class? All of you here, what is a class? Very good. User defined data type. But that in interviews, do not give one word answers. Give it in an expansive way. At least one sentence. Always make sure that every answer you give is at least one sentence. Okay? You don't need to give too much things, but just at least one sentence. So what is meant by a class? I want more definition. Class is a blueprint or a template which can be also called as user defined data types or general characteristics of a particular, not general characteristics of data that it can hold. Okay. Is that okay? So all what we have seen, I'm going to show it to you with an example. Now say I'll make a Python class called as animal. In Python, there are certain, what is PEP8? PEP8, PEP. These are certain conventions that has to be followed whenever you write Python codes, and this is a very common question that comes in your interviews. What do you understand by PEP? What do you understand by PEP? The rules means if you don't follow these rules also, the program will work. But you are always advised to follow certain rules that are called as conventions. For example, every class name in Python should begin with capital letters. So now I'm going to create Boolean variable called as takes underscore food. And this I'm going to give it as true. This means that all animals, all animals, all animals take food. Okay. I've created a class called as animals and I've created a Boolean variable. A Boolean variable can hold either two values, true or false. Okay, I'm going to give it as true. Okay, I can even change it later on. Okay. Now, one student here told me that all animals have legs. So have legs, number of legs, number underscore legs is equal to, I am giving it as 4, for example. Okay, number of legs, assume to be 4. Is that okay? Clear? Now, I am going to create an instance of this animal. Be very clear. I'm going to teach you more concepts. Now I'm just going to create simply an instance of an class animal. I'll call it as man. Okay. Man is what? Animal. Right? Print number of legs. Number of legs of man. For example, I'm telling you all this for you to understand. So man dot num underscore legs. Okay. Now I am running this program, running this script. So I'll get number of legs for a man is 4, but man is an animal. It is wrong, right? So how to change it? I can simply do it very easily. Man dot num underscore legs is equal to 2. And now when I run this, I'll get number of legs. What man has is to be 2. Okay. So I think you understood the general characteristics of the animal class. I've taken only a very small example, but we can do it for all the other things like I told you. You can create a class persons, you can create a class vehicles, you can create a class cars, you can create a class bikes. or whatever you like. And each of these things will have different characteristics. Now I'll show you another example of inheritance. Inheritance, I'm going to create class dog which has which is an animal. Okay. Okay. So sound, for example, sound I'm giving for example is equal to, I'm creating a variable bow bow. Understood? Okay. So the sound that dogs makes is bow bow. Right? It inherits the animal class. Clear? All of you understood? Now I'm going to create another class cat that also inherits animal, and sound is equal to meow meow. Okay, meow meow. Understood? Understood, all of you? So the main class is animal. From the animal, we have inherited and created two classes. One class for the dog, the other class for the cat. Right? Yes. Is there anybody who has pet animals? No. Okay. Now, I'll create an object for dogs. From this, I'm going to explain to you what is meant by object. I have a pet dog, for example. I'll call this pet dog to be Jimmy. Jimmy is equal to dog. Okay. Jimmy is equal to dog. Similarly, I'll have a cat. What can we give the name for the cat? Tommy. Good. Tom is enough, no? Okay. Tommy is cat. Right? Now what I can do is that I can print sound of Jimmy. Sound of Jimmy What is the sound of Jimmy? How we'll put Jimmy dot Jimmy dot sound. Similarly, if I want sound of Tommy, I'll put it as Tommy dot sound. Now it is not called it is not a function, right? It's not a method. It's only a variable. So sound of Jimmy is Bobo. Now see, here I wanted to check whether will Jimmy take food? Will Jimmy take food? Okay. So I can access that takes food variable here using Jimmy dot takes underscore food. Now, when I run this, will Jimmy take food? It is giving true, right? So it is accessing the parent class variable takes food from the child class cat. Are you all able to understand? Yes or no? So this is what is the, so inheritance, you understood, polymorphism, you understood, encapsulation, you understood, right? Yes? Any doubts? And abstraction. Of course, abstraction here, I can tell you that, see, here, in abstraction case, what I can tell you is that, give you a better example. Here, I can add certain other features of dogs which is not going to affect the animal class as a whole. Right? Okay. So for dogs alone, say we can say that some features like say is domestic. That means that dogs can be tamed and can be made as a pet at your homes, right? That feature you can include another class called as horse, which does not have all these things. Horse or lion or tiger or whatever it is. Is that clear? So these are the different basic features. Now what is the method? How to use methods in object-oriented programming and classes. I'll give you another example. I'll take a new file. I'll call this as class student. Okay. Okay. Then underscore underscore init. This is a built-in initialization class in Python where you are going to use the self, comma. A student means he'll have general characteristics like he will always pay the fees, for example. Okay, so fees. Okay, fees is equal to self dot fees. Okay, now I'm creating an instance of the student. Okay, any student name you can tell. Any name you can tell. Money. Okay, fine. Money. Money is an instance of student. Okay. Student and he's paying 1 lakh rupees fees. Right? Now print fee paid by money, comma, money dot fees. Okay. Now when I run that, okay, the other way around, right? Yes, 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 correct. Self dot fees. Because, see, it is because I'll tell you what happened. This fees is taken here as the initial. The things what you give inside the bracket is called as attributes or arguments, sorry. Inside any method, what you call for is an argument. Here the argument is fees, and in this particular class, wherever this class addresses the fees variable, it takes it as fees. Okay? Understood? Fees is where you initialize this. You can do it without initialization also. Okay. Now, if you want to give 10% discount for a student, for money you don't want to give discount. For another student you want to give discount. What you can do is that you can create a method inside that. Def discount. What it'll do? It'll take fees. Okay. And returns fees minus fees into 0.15, for example. Okay. RETURN, return. Okay. Now what I will do, final fee, final underscore fee is equal to money dot discount. Final, final underscore fee. Now if I run that, what happens? Unsupported operand types. Okay. So you can see that discount is being calculated from the self, and you take the self dot fees, and this is how you create a method inside a class. Understood? Self means the same class. Every method can inherit the same class. Only if you explicitly mention self, the same class will be inherited. Okay, so here self dot fees means whatever is the initialized fees, that fee will be taken here as self dot fees. You can give other attributes also. Say you can say percentage, amount, discount amount, this amount, and this you can put it as this amount. That means how much amount you wanted to give discount. For money, I want all of you to be quiet and listen here. See, I wanted to give money 15% discount. I don't want to give Ramesh 15%. I wanted to give only 10%. Okay. Advantages of object-oriented programming. Please listen here carefully. So money here is an instance, right? So this is discount amount. Now, see, I've made a. Now I can give this as 0.15, and Ramesh, for example, is another student whose fees is also same. Okay, but final fee underscore money is this one, and final fee underscore Ramesh, I'll call it as RAM, can be Ramesh discount, say 0.1, for example. Okay, so listen carefully here. Money So now listen here, all of you. See, please don't. So now I've created two instances of two students. One student by name Mani and the other one by name Ramesh. This Mani and Ramesh are called as objects. Okay, so I got two different fee structure here, right? Fees paid by Mani is 8,500 after 15% discount, and for Ramesh I got it as 0.1 discount. Understood? Okay. So the class is a student. Okay. Above this, you can create another class called as person, where which can inherit, student can inherit person, because every person will have an email ID. Say, for example, like what we have done previously, I can create a class called as person, and I can initialize, say, self, comma, phone number, name, comma, phone, comma, email. Okay. Same way I can do self dot name is equal to name, self dot phone is equal to phone, self dot email is equal to email. So now in the student class, so I've created a general class called as person, and I'm inheriting this person class to my student. Okay, because every student is a person. Now what I can do, I can put money dot name is equal to money. money dot phone is equal to 948,765 some number. Money dot email is equal to money at isa.com. Something like that. Okay. Is that okay? Now you can access Mani's email so I can access this as money.email. Okay. So money.email, I got it as money. I can access this variable like that. Okay. So this is one example for inheritance which I have shown. One more question will be, what do you mean by an object? Instance of a class, very well. An instance of a class, for example, now money, Ramesh, all these things were instances of a class. Similarly, Jimmy, Tommy, all these were instances of a class. So each object has its own copy of attributes and you can use these methods defined in the class. So this is a dog and this is your Jimmy. This Jimmy is the instance of this dog. Okay. Suppose if your pet dog Jimmy has broken one leg, you can change the number of legs to 3. Right? So it is that flexible. It is not necessary that it should always be same. Every instances can have different values. Now, any questions for you? So you are preparing for your interviews. If you have anything to ask me, you can ask me now. You have any questions to ask? You should have so many questions, only then I feel that you would have understood so many things. If you have any questions to ask, you can ask me. So thank you all. Thank you for being patient. Okay.